Bill Landis, you're skinny now. Do you have SEC speed?
I have never, nor will I ever have anything resembling SEC speed.
Ari, you were a standout high school fullback in Arizona. Do you have SEC speed?
Yeah.
Okay. Doug Lesmarie, Ari Wasserman, Bill Landis. We're here at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. We had our big interview day with Ohio State on Thursday, the last chance we had to speak with them before they go down to New Orleans. They practice for a few more days. They go home for 4.5 days over Christmas break. They will fly to New Orleans on December 27th. We will all be there as well. And then we will have the Big Ten versus the SEC, which is the favorite thing for Big Ten people to talk about. So, Ari, you were here for some of this. I've covered a lot of Big Ten SEC stuff. I've heard the phrase SEC speed enough times for my lifetime. Is this still a thing? Is this an actual debate about the speed of a team like Ohio State versus the speed of the best team in the SEC, Alabama?
I love that Urban Meyer is like the reason why it exists to begin with. And I love that Ohio State has played one SEC teams in the time since, really, in a BCS Bowl or a Caliber Bowl, and Arkansas, and beat them. So, but this is the first time in almost a decade now that Ohio State has taken a team that is supposed to be one of the best in the country this year and is playing the best example of SEC dominance there is. So I think Ohio State on paper has certainly recruited to the same caliber and the same height of Alabama, but it really is kind of impossible to answer the question of whether or not they have the same type of speed, athleticism, and depth until they actually play them, which is the first time it's going to happen in the Urban Meyer era, and since Urban Meyer beat Ohio State in the title game at the end of the 06 season.
Bill, you have done 2 good rewatches of Alabama so far. Make sure everyone goes back and finds Bill's stories on that. From what you've seen of Ohio State this year and then what you saw watching Alabama on both offense and defense, do you think SEC speed-wise, when it comes to raw athleticism, how does Ohio State match up with Alabama?
You know, I think the term SEC speed is certainly overblown, but I think it's a real thing in some cases. And with Alabama, I think it's pretty real. When I was watching Alabama, and I mean, I'm not a coach, I'm not breaking down tape, I'm just watching a football game like most people, but they did look faster than any team Ohio State's seen this year. Ohio State is fast, but it's hard for me to gauge just how fast they are when they're playing against teams that clearly they have a speed advantage over. I don't think anyone can match the kind of athlete that Ohio State has. I mean, Michigan State was very good. Wisconsin had a very good defense. Penn State had a very good defense. But I don't think any of those teams kind of fly to the ball like Alabama does. I mean, Alabama's given up some big plays, but when they get in those tight spaces, it's pretty tough to score on them just because they have athletes all over the field at every single position. All those guys can run, all 11 guys. So I think it's kind of a real thing, yeah.
It's crazy because you know how I judge speed? By looking at the NFL draft and the combine, and Ohio State has as many players in the NFL as any other team or any other program. You know the stat, don't you?
It's a lot. Here's the thing. It doesn't apply to Ohio State. Like, this whole thing is like Ohio State is an SEC team. You know, that's the whole point. I asked Nick Saban on the night of the playoff on a conference call if he thought, Urban Meyer had brought an SEC style to the Big Ten, and he's like, I don't know what that means. But, I mean, that's what this is. The model. Ohio State right now is the model of an SEC type of team. And when we say that, what does that mean? It means great athletes. Right. And I think when I think, this SEC speed discussion, it's not about receivers and running backs. It's about super athletic defensive linemen. Mm-hmm. It's about linebackers and safeties who fly to the ball like crazy and who run like wide receivers. And when you have guys like Joey Bosa and Darren Lee and Von Bell and Duran Grant and guys like that on the field, you say, well, yeah. I mean, I think Ohio State does have SEC speed when it comes to that kind of thing. And earlier this year, you mentioned this, Bill. Other people said that about Ohio State.
Yeah, Frank Beamer back in week 2. I'm sure Ohio State fans remember what happened that week. In the week leading up to that game, someone asked him about what makes Ohio State difficult. I think something along those lines was the question, and he said they're fast. They have SEC speed was the exact word he used. And I think if you were to go back all 12 games they played and looked at what opposing coaches were saying just from watching the film of Ohio State, and it was all about their athleticism and their speed.
I mean, I don't mean to yank the mic back, but like when Urban Meyer got here, the biggest complaint was that they didn't have the type of athlete on the lines. The team wasn't in the right shape. I mean, the criticism was a real thing. When he got here, he analyzed the roster, and that was the roster that the previous Ohio State reputation was built off of. So 3 years of recruiting, going into your 4th year, you have your favorite, best strength coach in the country that's training these guys. But really, I think winning a football game and being able to compete with Alabama is, like you said, having those athletic guys in the trenches and the linebackers and the safeties. But it also has as much to do with that as having depth and being able to match athlete for athlete when the game gets into the third and fourth quarter. Are your guys able to compete at the high level and maintain that speed when they're tired? And if they can't, do you have guys coming off the bench that don't have a big drop-off? I think that's part of it too.
This is why this is going to be a great game. It doesn't happen that much at Ohio State, and I know we have some other stuff coming on this topic. It's an equal talent game. And even when Ohio State plays a team like Michigan State is a tremendous program and a tremendous team. They're just recruiting a little bit maybe of a different kind of guy, as you have written about this year. They're fitting guys into a system. It's not just the same, not quite across the board, the same level of raw athleticism that you see at Ohio State. We're going to see that at Alabama, and then a lot of other things are going to come into play.
Yeah, if not deeper. I mean, this is the first time in 3
I mean, nobody has it like Bama.
I mean, it's nice to say that Michigan State has put together a great program, because they have. And they have beaten Ohio State. Even though the circumstances might have been in their favor with some of the things that happened to Ohio State's roster along the way, but Wisconsin played Ohio State for a chance to win this conference's championship this year. Michigan State on the road, Ohio State out-athleted them. I don't think it's even a debate. For the first time in 3 years, the question is, how is Ohio State going to match up against a team that might have more talent than them? Because it hasn't happened. It hasn't happened here in a long time.
And that is a tease for an RE story you're going to want to read later. A lot of coverage coming all the way up until we get to New Orleans again on the 27th, and then even more coverage from down there. So please stick with us. Thanks for hanging around this long. For Bill Landis, for Ari Wasserman, I'm Doug Lesmerises for cleveland.com.